shelter.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Typical City. Manchester City 0, Arsenal 0. Not the most exciting end to the Easter weekend that we were hoping for. I mean, if you're hoping for still being in the title race, just, then I think we're okay. We're still there. We can still win this league. I know some fans might disagree, but it's better than a loss. Ideally, we should have gone and won that game. But it just felt very similar to the game at the Emirates, where I felt like the game was close, it was tight, two teams paying almost too much respect to one another. Where I felt like City had the opportunity to take that game more by the scruff of the neck than they actually did. They controlled the game, they dictated midfield, we were the better footballing side. I felt like we created close to creating more opportunities. In fact, I've got the stats right above me here, in fact. So in terms of possession, like I said, we dominated the game with 73% possession to their 27%. So how often do Arsenal have 27% of the football? But it's not something I really want to celebrate, you know, because as much as it is a win for City, in that regard, that we still are the better footballing side. The day that Arsenal comes to the Etihad and starts knocking it about and we can't get a sniff of the ball is the day I'll start to panic. That day was not today. They are not the side that they think they are in terms of controlling a football match. I felt like we were good. We controlled the game. That first 20 minutes, I thought like there was a goal that needed to happen then. You know, if we took that game harder, we smashed them harder, come out of our traps quicker and get that goal in the first 20 minutes, then I feel like we could have done some serious damage to the psychology aspect of Arsenal. And I feel like there were some frailties there for everyone to see from Arsenal in terms of their inability to come to the Etihad. And this is the time, apparently. This is their year. This is where they come to the Etihad and show us what they're made of. They didn't show anything to me. So I'm not scared of Arsenal anymore. I was more scared before the game than I was after the game. After the game now, I think we'll beat them. If we were to take them in the Champions League, I'll take that. I feel like we can beat them. I really do believe that. I feel like we are the better side still. And we are so off compared to what we were last season. But I want to talk about my title. Haaland needs a rest. For me, that's a polite way of saying he needs to be dropped. Unfortunately, there's no mincing of my words there. But the title says he needs a rest. That was me being a little bit gentle, a little bit kind to Erling Haaland, to be honest. But in reality, it's not as much that his performances are just nowhere near good enough. I just feel like teams are able to stop his threat, especially when it's Gvardiol and Silva, two fantastic centre-backs who have just been an absolute red and white wall for Arsenal this season. Like, very few sides have got past them this season, you know. Haaland's going to struggle, you know, when you've got those two centre-backs looking after you all game. There was a couple of moments where you would have liked to have seen Haaland do a little bit more. There was a moment in the first half where he could have got his shot away a little bit quicker. He tried to, tried to spin his defender, I think it was Gvardiol, in the second half where he gets his shot away and it was blocked. There was a really bad moment for me where a ball comes across. It was a corner ball from Kevin De Bruyne. Gvardiol heads it. Great play. Gvardiol, by the way, was fantastic. Gvardiol's header nods it to that back post. Haaland's there. You're thinking, just cut it back to Akanji. He just completely misses the ball. And it's like, mate, we can't afford that in these titles games like this. The game's so important. Mistakes like that can make and break the game and make and break your title chances, you know? That spell when Haaland was out injured and Alvarez was given more of a centre-forward's role and more freedom to be the spear of the spearhead, the figurehead of Manchester City going forward, I felt like we were hitting close to our best football. Haaland came back and we didn't really drift off, but there's a massive amount of respect that I want to pay to Haaland here, because I'm walking the tightrope as someone who's trying to explain that I am not, you know, I'm not anti-Erling Haaland. I'm not like, this guy needs to be gone. I saw a lot of people in the chat saying he needs to go. That's it. I'm done with Erling Haaland. Get him off to Madrid. Sell him as quick as possible. There are some City fans that are going that far in the debate of what to do with Erling Haaland. And then there's others that are like, no, he must play every game because you know what he can do. Well, right now, I'm in the realistic... I'm trying to be somewhere in between and trying to approach this from a pragmatic sense that Erling Haaland has now gone 5 games without a goal. If you incorporate the international break as well for Norway, 5 games without a goal from Erling Haaland. He didn't do that at all last season. I feel like he might have gone 4 last season without a goal. But we're talking about 5 games now without a goal, and the performances that have come with it of like, oh, it looks like he's going to score. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I could forgive him if it was like, oh, he's so close, oh, it's just unlucky, or it was just a little this or a little bit of that. He doesn't look close to scoring right now. And what he brings to the pitch is a goal-scoring threat. And if that's gone, then he's almost a passenger. You know, if he's being nullified out of the game by the opposition centre-backs, then we're in a position where we need to bring a new dynamic to the pitch. And that's Alvarez. For me, that's Alvarez. That's that, because there was a moment in that game, I can't even remember, did Alvarez even come on? Because I'm sure he took his substitute top off, he took his tracksuit off, and then Haaland went down with a head injury, and I thought Alvarez is coming on. For the last 5-10 minutes, we could have a different threat from Alvarez now. But the issue for Alvarez is that people have this image of Alvarez, of like this player that's just like almost expendable in terms of treatment. Do you know what I mean? Like, he has been arguably the first third of this season, let's say the first 10 to 12 games of the season, Alvarez was almost our best player, was our best player. Over the course of the season, Foden's been our best player. But that first third of the season, Alvarez was sensational, you know. But he was doing a midfield role, and then he dropped a little bit deeper, started to become more of a number 8, which is like not that comfortable. And then against Copenhagen, he did all right. He played left wing, and then he played him left wing against Liverpool. And then you paint this image of Alvarez that's like, it's not the real Alvarez. The real Alvarez is the centre forward. The forward, the guy on the edge of the box, the guy on the penalty spot, the guy who's got a sniffing goals, probably not to the extent of Haaland. Haaland's ability to sniff goals is like no other striker in the world. But Alvarez brings a dynamic to the game that's close to Haaland's ability to sniff out, be in the right place at the right time. Alvarez has got that ability. It's not like he doesn't have that ability. He does. He's a fox in the box. You know, he sniffs these moments out. But he brings other players into the game by his movement. His movement isn't always forward. Haaland's movement is like, I'm either going to put my back onto the centre-back. I want to feel him. I want to feel the centre-back's hands on my rib cage or my hips or my shoulders. I want to feel that centre-back. I want to wrap my arms round him and grab him. That's what Haaland likes. Alvarez ain't that striker. Alvarez is like, okay, if you're going to come on to me like that, I'm going to drop 10 yards. I'm going to come and collect that ball. And all that's doing is leaving a big old gap behind the centre-back. If he's got the balls to go and close down Alvarez, fine. Then there's a big gap behind you. If he doesn't, then Alvarez has got a big pocket of space. Give it him. Haaland's not bringing that dynamic, you know, and there was one moment where I saw Haaland come and collect the ball deep, and it was a pass from Ortega, where Haaland came and collected the ball at the halfway line. He brought it down and he laid off at Kevin De Bruyne. You know, same as we saw at the Etihad last season, where De Bruyne scores to make it 1-0 against Arsenal. That was a long ball from John Stones. Haaland brings it down, coming short, collecting it short, and laying it off to De Bruyne, and away De Bruyne goes and makes it 1-0. And De Bruyne, by the way, he didn't have his greatest performance either today. I thought he was a little bit off it. You know, the amount of crosses that we put into that box, by the way, was just very well defended from Arsenal. But none of them, the balls coming into the box, looked like, oh, that's going to be on the end of a City player. You know, nowhere near a City player. And that's why I want to defend Haaland, because it's like, well, if you're not going to put quality into the box, then what's he got to live off? You know, if Haaland is playing to be the striker that just occupies the attention of 2 centre-backs, that's his game. I feel like that the give and take isn't right there. You know, because we've lost a player, because Haaland's now irrelevant, he's redundant as a footballer. You know, if that's his job, is to occupy the minds of Saliba and Gabriel, that's their job, is to look after Haaland. They're doing what they're expected to do. Haaland's expected to score goals. That's what we need him to do. And if his job is just to be like, oh, be a pest, be a nuisance. And it's like, well, can't Alvarez be a nuisance? You know, and drop deep, be a busy bee that floats around the pitch a little bit more. Because Haaland needs to be more of a threat from service. And if he's not getting the service, it's like, why is he playing if that ball is not being fed to him with accuracy, you know? And the other players need to take responsibility for the performance of Erling Haaland. It's not just Erling Haaland's fault that he's not having a great time right now in a City shirt. It's not his fault. You know, if he's not getting the service, he's not getting the service. It's like, well, what do you expect him to do? His game has always been that. It's not like, oh, we didn't know that. Last season, he scored 52 goals. We need to remind ourselves as City fans, 52 goals, which is why the title says he needs a rest. It's not a case of drop him, sell him, get rid of him, I hate him, I'm done with him, none of that shit. No, keep him. The guy's an absolute asset. What a player, a goal scorer Erling Haaland is. You know, it's a very dangerous game to write off Erling Haaland. You know, but the facts are right now he's gone 5 games without a goal. His form isn't great. Pep needs to recognise that and go, all right, Alvarez, mate. He dropped Alvarez, and that was harsh, mate. Dropping Alvarez was harsh because it was like he was a square peg and he was looking for a round hole to jam him into. And it was like, right, left wing, I'll try that. And he was pushing his luck, Pep. He obviously wants him on the pitch. He wants Alvarez on the pitch, but he was like, right, I'll stick your left wing, mate. See how it goes. Failed miserably. And he's not played it since. He's like, okay, tried it against Copenhagen. It's Copenhagen, so not really a fair test. Liverpool, didn't work. So now it's into the, okay, Haaland, or what are you offering? What are you bringing to the team? Not enough right now. Today, certainly not enough. Newcastle in the FA Cup, anonymous. You know, it's 2 deflected goals from Bernardo Silva that got us over the line eventually. Franz, thank you so much for the super chat, by the way. Hi, Johnny. We can't just say, don't worry, we will be okay, etc. These standards are not what we come to expect. And it's just not this game. LFC, CFC, extra. Yeah, no, there is a case of... I understand why there is to worry, but there's a counter-argument to that, Franz, is this team have constantly... I used to be like that, mate. You know, I remember... when we were 2-0 down to Aston Villa, I was like that. I remember once Coutinho had made it 2-0 to Aston Villa before Gundogan came on the pitch. That was the moment when Gundogan did what he did, and to turn it round 3-2 with, what was it, 15 minutes to go, and to win the game 3-2. It was that moment that I decided that until it's realistically impossible, and it doesn't have to be mathematically impossible, I'm not talking like ludicrous levels of delusion. Do you know what I mean? I recognise that this title's now harder than it was before we played Arsenal, because we're now 3 points behind Liverpool, who have a very easier run of fixtures compared to Liverpool, to City and Arsenal. I understand that, but what we've done over the years deserves the respect and the patience from City fans. From me, anyway. You don't have to, mate. I understand if you're someone who's more like Franz, who feels like the standards are not being achieved. I agree with your point of the standards. We're not as good as we were last season. But I don't think we ever will be, mate. That's the problem. We're not going to win a treble every year, mate. That's unfortunate. And I'd like to win a treble every year. But we need to be realistic as fans that sometimes you go through seasons where, you know, you don't get the rub of the green. This game, to me, was the same game that took place at the Emirates. Except in that game, there was an 86th minute deflected scabby goal that made it 1-0 Arsenal, that changes the whole narrative of the season, that makes Arsenal look superior to Manchester City, which in that game, which was so far from the truth. There was no Kevin De Bruyne, there was no Rodri in that game, and they scabbed their way over the line with a deflected goal. Go and look at the stats. I've got them in front of me of City versus Arsenal in this game, and then compare them to the Arsenal versus City game at the Emirates. They're very, very similar, except for the possession, where we completely dominated possession. Arsenal had 12 shots. I remember, I've not even got them up in front of me, but I know for a fact Arsenal had 12 shots and 2 on target at the Emirates. City in this game had 12 shots, 1 on target. I'm pretty sure we had 4 shots at the Emirates and 2 on target. Arsenal had 6 and 2 on target. So in terms of chance creation, It was the same game. It was that game smacks of a bit of luck, a refereeing decision, something just going your way. Do you know what I mean? And Arsenal had it on that day. At the Emirates, they had the luck. The rub of the green, it went their day. That's football, mate. That's how it goes. You know what I mean? In terms of over the course of the season, those little bits of luck add up. And we got a lot of luck last season. As much as we fully deserved to win what we did, little moments went our way last season. It did. We have to be honest about these things. These little details, that's what's so good about football, is these entertaining factors come from a bit of luck. You know, as much as City have made a science of the sport, Pep has made a science of the sport to the point where it's like a foregone conclusion. If City playing in the bottom half of the Premier League team, then we're going to beat them. We're going to pass them to death, and eventually we'll win 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, maybe more. That's the science that Pep's brought to the game, to the point, to the detriment of entertainment, in my opinion. For the neutral anyway, from a City fan, it's like, yeah, buzzing, mate, we're winning all our games. But in reality, luck plays a part. These little moments where it's like, oh, that side of the post, that side of the post. We didn't get the rub of the green that much today. I felt like there was opportunities for us to get a shot away here and there. But 12 shots, only 1 on target. I feel like that speaks more about the lack of clear-cut opportunities. I feel like that first 15 minutes of the game, first 20 minutes of the game, they were there for the taking. I feel like they were there for the taking. I feel like they approached that game more nervously than we did. And eventually the last 10, 15 minutes of the game became more of a who's got the bigger balls. Do you know what I mean? Who wants to take the game to the opposition and really go for it? I thought Martinelli came on, Trossard came on. I thought both of those were picking up the ball in really deep positions. They were picking the ball up at the halfway line. And they've got half the pitch to beat Akanji or to beat Gvardiol. And Akanji Trossard got his shot away by beating Akanji eventually, but it was a save by Ortega that you expect him to make. Other than that, in the second half, what did Arsenal bring to the table that scared me and scared you? Ask yourself that question. Answer that question. What did they do that scared you? Long term. Like obviously on the day they got a point, and it's like we can do better. But the facts are we're coming away a little bit more disappointed. And I saw the away end. I saw the Arsenal away end fucking giving it big uns, mate. City fans will be walking away thinking, should have won that. We could have. Just edged it a little bit. I felt like it was a 50-50 game. In truth, I believe a draw is a fair result. But if anyone was to edge it, it should have been City. They didn't deserve to win that game. Certainly not. And let's not also take away from the fact that I don't want to celebrate little things like this because it does lower our standards. I understand that City fans want to maintain the high standards of football, and celebrating a point against Arsenal is not the new way of thinking at Manchester City, where it's like, no, we celebrating beating Manchester City, beating Arsenal comfortably, 4-1 at the Etihad last season. But you've got to pay respect to the opposition at the same time, because Arsenal have been sensational this season, so much better than they were last season. When they turned up last season, they had Saliba out, first of all, and they also were in a terrible vein of form. It was 3 draws in a row, wasn't it, before coming to the Etihad? So they'd collapsed. They'd collapsed already. They came fully fit. Everyone was fit. Even Martinelli was on the bench. Fully fit squad, in form. Haven't dropped a single point in 2024, and they dropped points against Manchester City, against a Manchester City side that were nowhere near their best, that were injury-riddled. Well, I say injury-riddled. With John Stones and Kyle Walker, that's one right side of our defence that's incredibly affected. It's a real problem area of the pitch that Arsenal didn't pose a threat there, if ever. I didn't see a threat coming down that right-hand side, if ever, in that game. And it's the main area of the pitch that I was really, really worried about. Whether it was Gabriel Jesus, who got 2 opportunities in the first half. One cross comes in over Akanji's head. He chests it. Typical Gabriel Jesus finish. Snatches at it. Past the post. Another opportunity, half opportunity on the edge of the area where he shifts it onto his left. 3 or 4 City defenders in front of him, so the odds are against him already. He cuts that past the post. That was it from Gabriel Jesus. He ends up getting hooked, subbed off. Martinelli on, Trossard on. Neither of those posed that much of a threat. Martinelli was anonymous, and I was scared when he came onto the pitch. Nathan Ake went off as well in the first half. Let's defend the club a little bit, Blues, because we've lost Kyle Walker already. John Stones didn't play. The arguably our best defender over the course of this season, at least, is toss-up between Akanji and Ake. But Ake's been sensational. Someone who's pocketed Saka on numerous occasions, injured in the first half. And we're bringing on an 18-year-old lad who's barely played any football this season, comes on and he plays his heart out and was absolutely solid as a rock in that midfield. Rico Lewis, brilliant. You know, let's not over-egg his performance. I thought he was good. You know, nothing fantastic. He came on, did a job. He did a job. I thought he was all right, Rico Lewis. Really good. I thought Gvardiol on the left, fantastic. I'm really, really pleased with Gvardiol. I really was. I thought he was sensational on that left-hand side. Considering it was me, I prefer the idea of Nathan Ake looking after Saka rather than Gvardiol. But he did really well. You know, Gvardiol was fantastic. Coming forward as well, he was a threat. There's a couple of crosses that I would have liked to have seen a bit more accuracy, but I could say the same about Kevin De Bruyne. So if I'm going to criticise Gvardiol's crossing and not Kevin De Bruyne, I'm not analysing the game properly, am I, to be honest? But in truth, I felt like Gvardiol was good, you know, and it's the first time in a while that I've seen him play the full 90 whatever plus minutes almost to perfection. There was one pass that I think he gave away. I felt like Kovacic was good. He added a level of control to the game that was really good. I think it was a good decision to bring him off, though, and put Bernardo Silva where he played him. The downside was Doku came on that right side and was poor. Doku was poor, and it's frustrating, the Jeremy Doku side of things right now. I feel like we need to see more from him. You know, coming on, we're expecting more from him. Jack Grealish, he didn't get as much as the ball as Doku did. Jack Grealish didn't cover himself in glory either. You know, but Doku was, you know, he had multiple opportunities to do better things than he did. But hey, blooming heck, Russ, what you playing at, mate? You absolute legend. First of all, super chat from Russ as well. Too many players were under par today, and the older heads looked jaded. Recruitment is a key this summer. I'll get onto recruitment in a minute, mate. But yeah, I agree. I think under par is a nice, polite way of describing it. I think under par is exactly right. Older heads look jaded. Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne, mate. You know, Ruben Diaz, he didn't play badly, Ruben Diaz, but he looked rattled, didn't he? He was very aggressive today. And by the way, Russ has gifted 5 typical City memberships. What an absolute legend you are, Russ. Thank you so much, mate. You're such a hero. Clara, Devious, Sleepy Sun, Man Q, you got them as well. And did anyone else get them? I can't see who else got them. Anton as well, nice one. Russ, proper legend, mate. Big up to Russ Davis in the chat, top man. Really appreciate that, Russ. What was I going to say? But yeah, in defence, we didn't look under the cosh at any point. You know, there was no 10-minute, 15-minute spell like, oh shit, Arsenal are going to score at any moment. I didn't feel that threat at any moment in the game. I felt what I was scared of was how little they were threatening, and it was like, you know, like United do nothing for 89 minutes and in the 90th minute bloody go up the other end and score. That's what I was worried about. The fact that how quiet they'd been. I was more worried about that than popping up at the other end with a bit of luck or a moment of magic or a refereeing decision. I felt like that's how Arsenal were going to win the game. They weren't going to win the game from 10 minutes, 15 minutes of domination. They didn't dominate any moment in the game. 5 minutes at most, and that's being generous to Arsenal. It's just frustrating that what we did the other end of the pitch ourselves was very little, and Arsenal, and credit to Arsenal, they didn't really feel like they were under the threat of a goal from City. I didn't feel like, well, here comes a City goal. Neither side showed that threat at either end of the pitch. And if you're Liverpool, you're doing that. You're rubbing your hands going, buzzing, mate. What a day for Liverpool. Perfect scenario. Because neither fucking scored as well. You don't get more perfect than that. You go and win, and it's 0-0. So they didn't even add to their goal tally. But yeah, Amar, appreciate the super chat, mate. Sell Haaland, and I wouldn't sell Haaland, but rest him and play Alvarez as a 9. Guy is awful. I disagree with the awful bit, mate. I do. Don't worry. Is that Don Carlo? Is he? I've seen him going around. He's a bit of a twat, isn't he? Section 20's deleted it. Yeah, I can view it, mate. I'll have a look, see what he said. I know what he said. What now, you mank mug, mate? What's where I'm from got to do with anything? What's where I'm from got to do with anything. But yeah, Section 20 on the case as always, mate. Yeah, not too bothered, mate. But yeah, I feel like City were deserving of a point at least today. Benny says we was crap, Jonny. So I feel like there's a torn fan base right now. Am I the only one who feels like a point is right for the game, how the game played out? I feel like the point was the correct result. It's not a great result. We should have taken the game to Arsenal. But what Russ said as well before in his super chat, that's what I wanted to talk about. And someone highlighted it, I can't remember who, in the watch-along as well. Thanks for everyone who did join me in the watch-along, was recruitment as well. And we need to improve. And what I took that as is not just going into the training ground and what's Pep got up his sleeve, what new tactics, what innovative tactics can Pep introduce to this Manchester City side to improve us. There's very little time to do that now. You play the cards you dealt. You know, the cards that we've got right now are Mateus Nunes, Kovacic, Doku and Gvardiol. They're our new cards. You know, we've lost Laporte, Mahrez, Gundogan. Those cards are gone, mate. So we need to adapt to our circumstances as we are. And I feel like Pep's more than capable of doing that. But in terms of recruitment, there is a hugely promising future for Manchester City. You know, if we don't win the league, and I just want to brace some City fans who I think a little bit worried, overly worried in my opinion, about the impact of this season. I know you want to see us win the league. I do too. I still believe we can. I just feel like if we don't win the league this year, I still feel like we've got a trophy in us. You know, I'm not saying we've lost this league. I still feel like we can win this league. If we don't, I feel like we can still win the Champions League. I feel like we're more closer to winning that than we are the Premier League. The problem with the Champions League is the upcoming Real Madrid game with John Stones, who I like to think will be fixed. He was on the bench today. Walker, massive blow. Vinicius Jr. versus Akanji or Rico Lewis. That's not good. And yeah, the likeliness of Nathan Ake as well. How serious is that injury? On the other side of our defence is we've got problems all of a sudden. So the Champions League chances have dipped a little bit considering the injuries that have taken place. I still believe we can win the Premier League, possibly, and the Champions League, but I do think we're more likely. But the point I'm trying to make is next season we'll come back so much stronger than Arsenal and Liverpool are prepared for. They're not ready for what we'll come back with. And in transfers, I'm talking about, you know, because we went in for Declan Rice and we pulled out of the deal. We didn't spend that money anywhere else. You know, all the players that we got, we were going to go for them anyway. I feel like we moved from Declan Rice and moved that money towards Paquetá, and we didn't spend that money. So there was 80 million, 90 million that we were prepared to pay that we didn't spend on anybody. And the likeliness is we're going to get Paquetá in the summer, by the sounds of it. It sounds like Paquetá's going to be in. He's going to be a player for us next season. Strength, whoop, goes massively up. Paquetá next to Rodri, or even in front of Rodri. Exciting times, you know. We're going to go big in the transfer market. Don't forget 2-3 seasons ago when we signed Jack Grealish for 100 million. We also bid 100 million for Kane. That was going to be Grealish and Harry Kane. That was not one or the other. We were going to spend 100 million on Harry Kane and we didn't. We only spent 50 on Haaland a year later. There is so much money in the bank. You combine that with the new financial fair play rules of 70%, of 75% of your revenue earned, and we've got one of the highest revenues in Europe. All of a sudden, we've got a ridiculously scary amount of money that we can spend, which I disagree with, by the way. This new financial fair play rule, I've been moaning about it for the good of the game, for the fairness of the teams below us that we once used to be. We used to be one of those teams hoping to grow, the likes of Newcastle who are trying to grow, and any other team that wants to spend big to try and do something different, present a new challenge to the already established. You know, they want to do that. Like this new rule, we're fine because we already have the revenue. I still disagree with it for the sake of everyone below us, but from a City fan point of view, I'm thinking I'm not going to fight that corner as strongly because we're the benefactors. You know, we benefit from financial fair play now, you know, and that's what's wrong with it. Different point, I'm moving on. Today is a tough game. I understand why City fans are upset because I feel like a lot of us were expecting us to come to the Etihad and wipe the floor with Arsenal. I still feel like there's positives to come out of the game. You know, I think the Bernardo Silva performance was brilliant. I thought he was really, really good. He dipped in a little bit in form when he played on the right. He was fantastic. He dropped into midfield, into that Kovacic role. Wasn't quite as effective. I thought he was more of a threat on the right, to be honest, because he was beating Kiwior with ease. Doku came on, and he was beating his man occasionally, in fairness, but the delivery was just never good enough from Doku. But I thought Bernardo Silva was a positive. I thought Kovacic was a positive. Rico Lewis was a positive. I thought Akanji, solid. Ortega, not much to do, but a couple of bad passes. He was okay. You're wondering if Ederson's got a long term, because I mean he was supposed to be fit. Ederson, wasn't he? I was surprised to see Ortega start. Another positive is Arsenal. We made them look like we didn't. No, take that back. I nearly said we made them look average. We didn't make them look average because we didn't make ourselves look any much better than average ourselves. But the way they've been playing, you know, and the talk that they had going into this game, I was expecting Arsenal to come to us and go for it. You know, surprise Manchester City. That was the term, wasn't it? They're going to take the game to us, and City might need to do some defensive work. We controlled the game. We completely controlled the game, you know. I just feel like in the final third, it was nowhere near good enough. It was nowhere near good enough. You know, the delivery into the box, that final pass, just nowhere near good enough, you know. And the stats back me up as well. It's not just... I'm wondering if the eye test is failing me here because I feel like we controlled the game. I didn't feel under threat at any point from Arsenal. But I didn't feel like we were threatening them. I feel like it's I saw Florian Wirtz, his name, or Musiala, mate. I'd love that. You don't want Paquetá, though. I mean, mate, there's no reason why we can't get 2 out of the 3 you've named. I think Florian Wirtz is a real possibility. Wirtz and Paquetá, that would be unbelievable. I think Florian Wirtz is just sensational, mate. Absolutely sensational. I could see him being the mould for Kevin De Bruyne's replacement, you know. But he's got more dribbling ability. He's got more skills. He's like a blend between... He's got that close touch of Phil Foden, that ability to poke it past his player and dribble past the player. But he's got that vision of Kevin De Bruyne as well. So, I mean, combine Kevin De Bruyne and Phil Foden, what a player. Outlaw, we did well. Focus on the next game. Yeah, mate. I don't feel like we did super well, but I feel like we did all right. Eric's good to see you, Eric, as well. Arsenal fan in the chat, but a long-time subscriber to Typical City, who is a very respectful Arsenal fan. I think this was like a boxing match between 2 solid heavyweights who didn't want to lose more than they wanted to win. So we danced around each other without a final killing blow. Couldn't agree more, mate. And there's boxing on the screen right now because I'm watching it on Sky and it turned into boxing. I don't know who the hell these two are boxing. I'm not a boxing fan, to be honest. But you said boxing. Boxing's on my screen right now. You're in cohesion, Eric, mate. I completely agree, mate. I completely agree. Frimpong back to City as well. I mean, Kyle Walker's on his way out, isn't he? In terms of his age. So... it's not the end of the world, Blues. I know why City fans are frustrated. I agree that we definitely could have done better. We could have done so much better. We could have done a lot worse as well, you know. It feels like that this whole season, though. I feel like this whole season has felt like that. And the facts are that we are 1 game away from being back on the top of the Premier League. If Liverpool were to lose, I can't remember, what's their goal difference? Because obviously it depends on goal difference now, doesn't it? But bear with me 1 second while I find the league table. So they're on plus 40. So it's very attainable goal difference. They're on plus 40. We're on plus 35. It's only really Arsenal's goal difference that's like dangerously far apart in terms of 11 goals. They're 46. So if they lose 2-0, we win 3-0. Simple as that. We go back top. 1 game, and we're back top of the Premier League effectively. Obviously, it depends on what Arsenal do, but I know the circumstances are not in our favour right now, and it's difficult to paint a picture where it's super positive for City, but I don't feel like we need to go the other way. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like we need to be like all doom and gloom. Title is gone. City are out of the title race. I don't feel like that at all. I feel like we can absolutely win it. You know, 9 games to go. There's a lot of football still to be played. And we could look back at this season with multiple trophies being added to the cabinet, and we'll forget about these types of this season where we've like, oh, we could have been better. We could have been better. The facts are, we are one of two sides in Europe that can still win a treble. PSG is the other one. The only other side in the whole of Europe right now is PSG that can win a treble. The other, Manchester City. So to be in this position is credit to Manchester City and Pep Guardiola to motivate the lads to go onto that pitch and play to the standards that aren't as good as last season. Yes, I agree with almost every City fan would agree with me, and I think there's a lot of you already saying that in the chat, that we're nowhere near as good as we were last season. But we're one game away from being top of the Premier League. We've got a tough run in the Champions League, but we're still in it. Why are we talking about it like it's over? It's not. I say it's not like all we have to do is beat Real Madrid, but we do. We can do it. We've done it before. Why not do it again? Let's do it again. FA Cup, we're the favourites in the FA Cup with what's left in that tournament. Chelsea, Coventry, Man United. I'm telling you, there is another narrative that could happen, though. There is another narrative, a really negative one that's in the back of my mind that I've not spoke about on here, but it's there. And it bothers me, and I'll be honest with you, there is a narrative that can go very, very wrong. You could look at it from Arsenal get their revenge on Manchester City and win the Premier League. Real Madrid get their revenge on last season's demolishing of Real Madrid and knock out Manchester City in the Premier League. Manchester United get their revenge on their FA Cup final defeat and beat Manchester City in the FA Cup final. We could have a season like that. But what's the point of being a fucking football fan if we're all going to just think about is the worst case scenarios? What's the fucking point? We might as well pack it in. What's the point? Just enjoy the fact that we're here. Enjoy the fact that we won a treble last season and we can still win another. That's ridiculous in itself. In itself, that is a fact there's no football club in the world that can say that. Even United, when they won the treble in 99, they won the Premier League the next season, in fairness to them, by the way. Fuck me, that's an achievement. But they didn't go and win a treble again, did they? Do you know what I mean? We've got to be realistic. We've got to be realistic as City fans, and today is not the end of the world. I really believe that we could look back at it as an okay point, not the greatest. But by the way, from a neutral point of view, boring game, really, wasn't it? If you're a neutral watching that, you're like, nah, boring. Go and eat some Easter eggs. Go and get some chocolate or some shit, because that wasn't the most exciting game of football, was it? I watched Liverpool-Brighton before, by the way, and they didn't convince me. The scary fact is that we've got to play Brighton, and Brighton looked bloody good in that first half. They took the game to Liverpool in that first half in particular. Brighton, they fell off a little bit in the second half. Liverpool showed their dominance a little bit in the second half. But in the first half, I thought, Brighton, I don't want to be playing them. And then I reminded myself, oh shit, we are playing them. Who's playing them next, though? Arsenal. So if they can take that level of performance, and it's at the Amex Arena as well, by the way, it's at Brighton's ground, Brighton away for Arsenal. That's going to be interesting. Jonny, what's your take on Anthony Taylor with 20 fouls? He gave 2 yellow cards. But yeah, I agree. There was a couple of yellow cards. I don't feel like Anthony Taylor had that bad a game. I feel like a lot of City fans have seen some in the chat already that are really having a go at Anthony Taylor, saying the referee was shit. Nothing stood out to me from Anthony Taylor. And it's nice to not talk about, VAR this or penalty decision that. There was no major decision from the referee that was like, that was an absolute clanger. There was a couple here that I thought, that wasn't a foul. Declan Rice fouled Erling Haaland in the first half. That was one of he stuck his leg between Haaland's legs and tripped him up intentionally when Haaland was going he's bearing down on their goal or on the edge of their penalty area at least. That was a yellow card. And Declan Rice on a yellow card in the first half, he had 50, 60 minutes to play on a yellow card. It affects the game. It affects Declan Rice's way of thinking. He can't go into tackles quite as hard. In factoring that in, you're talking super hypothetical now. This is really pushing the boat out in terms of what ifs and what about this type of mentality. But there was a moment where Kevin De Bruyne picked the pocket of Declan Rice in the second half, where De Bruyne is going through on goal, or bearing down on the goal at least, and Declan Rice was caught sleeping. De Bruyne nicks it off him, goes through. Declan Rice with an unbelievable tackle, outstretched big right boot, gets a touch on it, vital. Would he have gone for that tackle? Would he have even attempted that tackle had he been on a yellow card, knowing that if he gets it wrong, he could get a second yellow card, red card? Those are the little details that we talk about in football. Like, yes, I agree with you, there should have been more yellow cards, but in terms of Anthony Taylor's overall performance, it's not like he was dishing out yellow cards to City and no yellow cards for Arsenal. In fact, I can tell you because I can see them in front of me. Well, I did see them in front of me. Where have they gone? There they gone. Yellow cards, 2 for Arsenal, none for City. So 9 fouls City committed, no yellow cards. 20 fouls from Arsenal, 2 yellow cards. We only had 7 corners. It felt like we had about 50. How many bloody corners did we have? But no, I don't feel like the referee had a bad game. I don't think there's anything we can walk away from this game and blame on anyone other than ourselves, you know? I mean, I was surprised to see how happy Arsenal fans were in the away end. I was really happy to see that. I would have been, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I was like, City were nowhere near their best. I would be thinking we could have taken that game to them and finished them off. Make it more of a 2-horse title race. But they've left us still in it. They've not closed the door in any way. They've not shat on City and said, see you later, mate. You're out of the title race. It's between us and Liverpool. They didn't do that. They had the opportunity to do that. They didn't. They should have, you know, because we were nowhere near our best. And we haven't been all season. And Arsenal are in a vein of form that's you know, devastating. Goal-scoring form in particular, they didn't even look like scoring. They didn't look like scoring at all. But it's a mixed one to take. I feel like you need to be really pragmatic about this game. I don't feel like if you come into this and analyse this game and say City is shit, City were out of the title race, nowhere near good enough, there are so many counter-arguments to that. And then if you go into it on the other side of it, saying City are going to win the league, there's still enough there. They're very likely to win the league. There's huge counter-arguments to that. There's a lot of middle ground here. There's a huge area, there's a grey area of where are City right now? Where do they lie right now? It's a very confusing time to be a City fan. And I feel like last season's success is playing a big role in our mentality as City fans. I feel like we're thinking about it so much in comparison to last season that I feel like that's harsh in itself. That's harsh. I mean, we're never going to do what we did last season. The likeliness needs to be realistic. But in truth, there's a lot of room for improvement, you know. Even when, like, for example, fair dues, we didn't win the treble when we got 100 points, but we won the domestic quadruple. No fucking team in English football has ever done that. Do you know what I mean? So you know what we're capable of. The standards that we've achieved under Pep Guardiola aren't just standards of last season. We are, in fairness to the people who are really upset with today's result, and talking about standards like Franz did earlier on with his super chat, the standards don't just go back to last season. They go back to when we got 98 points and beat Liverpool, when we got 100 points and walked the league. These standards are ridiculous. And I agree with what Benny just said. Hangover, mate. Yeah, there's a little bit of that. How do you motivate this team to go again? And I said it in my preview. The word hunger is going to play the biggest part in this stage of the season. To have not lost to an Arsenal side that arguably should be starving, mate. Forget hunger. They should be perished. Do you know what I mean? They should be absolutely famished beyond hunger recognition. Arsenal should be biting, chomping at the bit to win this Premier League title. There is no excuses now for Arsenal. No excuses. They've spent big money to be where they are. You know, they earned the right to call themselves title challengers after last season's performance. A little bit of a surprise package last season, I'll grant you that, but this season there's no surprise. They spent money on a title challenging campaign. They spent nearly 200 million to get to where they are right now, and they're 1 point ahead of City. You know, so they're still there. They've not gone anywhere. But the facts are that they're a threat. Liverpool, same again. The excuses aren't there, you know, because they've done it before. I feel like hunger is going to play a massive part. How do you motivate a squad of players that last season won the treble. I don't know how you do it, mate. I know how you motivate an Arsenal squad that, you know, although they bottled it at the end of last season, there's your motivation. Slap the league table onto that dressing room, the Arsenal dressing room. If I'm Mikel Arteta, I'm putting the league table with 8 games to go. I'm putting that league table on the wall and reminding them of how close they came and how much they were the better side up until that point, because they were top and then they fell apart. You know, if I'm Liverpool, it's like Klopp's leaving. We've got to give him one last hurrah. Give him a trophy on his way out, on top of the League Cup that they've already won. Go and win the Premier League, the one they really want to win, the one they didn't get to celebrate in front of their own fans. Now we get to celebrate it in front of our own fans. That's a level of hunger wow, you know. Mikel Arteta and what I've already described with what they're trying to achieve. The fact that they've got Champions League football this season as well. Another level of hunger, just high-level competitions. That hunger is there for Liverpool and Arsenal. How do you incentivise this Manchester City squad to go again? You know? And we are going again. We're going again. We're here now. We're talking about it. We're in a title race. It's not like we fell off. 10 games to go and we're out of the title race. We're here. We're 1 point behind Arsenal. We're 3 points behind Liverpool. We can knock out Real Madrid in the Champions League, and arguably the best team left in it, which would hopefully leave us with a more realistic chance. If we beat Real Madrid, I feel like we can go and win it. I don't see why not. Go and win the FA Cup. Why not? You know, we're here. How Pep's done what he's done is amazing. It's amazing in itself. I really believe that, and I do feel like there's a balancing act here that needs to be found between, you know, writing them off and being pissed off at not winning the game against Arsenal today as comfortably as I'd have liked to have seen. I agree, yeah, we could have been so much better. But then it's like, we're still there, mate. We're there now. We're here. It's what Pep always says. As long as we're there at the end of the season, then we've got a massive chance of winning it. Huge. Similon, thank you so much for the super chat, mate. I'm not sure what that currency is. Have you sent me Arsenal currency? What the hell is ARS? I'm not going to try and work out what you've sent me there, but that Ars currency, what is that? Like Arsenal. Argentine, is that what it is? A peso? Nice, mate. Nice one. Appreciate the super chat, mate. Really do. Thank you very much. I thought you'd sent me Arsenal money that can only be spent in the Arsenal shop. I was like, I don't want to buy any Arsenal merchandise. But yeah, cheers, mate. Positives. KDB, even though off it was not hoofing and praying like against Liverpool. Agreed. The goal made him look better than he did on that game. Should have come off at half-time. Maybe not at half-time, but I agreed he should have come off earlier. The other one is that City were dominant, even if we didn't do anything with that. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. I'm very much in agreement with you there, mate. I feel like Kevin De Bruyne is like getting close to being, you know, swap that name for Haaland in my title. Not a rest. But do you know what I mean? Like, De Bruyne has not really been... He came back, bang, Newcastle, away. Scored a goal, gets the assist for Oscar Bob. You know, and De Bruyne, he's in that same ballpark of Haaland, where it's just like, how dare you write off Kevin De Bruyne because of what he's capable of? You know, it's like Erling Haaland gets 52 goals. Kevin De Bruyne gets double figures assists every season. Like the best assists in the world, like in terms of assist giver. He's like, there's no one like him. There's no better passer of the ball. But it's the amount he tries to go for that killer ball. If it doesn't come off, it looks like a bad performance. Because it's like, well, you didn't do any of your trademark signature killer passes. If you didn't do that in the game, then it's like, well, did he have a good game or not? It's hard to defend Kevin De Bruyne when a lot of his passes are going astray. I agree with what you said, though, Samillan, that he didn't try overly audacious passes. But the same can be said about Erling Haaland. Haaland, if he scores goals, it's like you need to take your chances. And if he's not taking chances, well, did he have a good game? No. With those two players in particular are very much dependent on their signature, you know, their moves. So what they're all about is Haaland's all about the goals and Kevin De Bruyne is all about the final pass, that killer pass, the assists. And if neither of those two are doing it, are City the same team? Are City as effective as they could be? No, is my answer. They're not. You know, if either one of those has an off day, then City tend to have an off day. And both of them were not good enough today, really, to beat Arsenal. That was a good enough performance to beat the rest of the Premier League. You know, beneath us, I think we'd win the game. But that Arsenal defence was rock solid, mate. Everything that was going in, it was a great shape. Crosses coming in, Gabriel, Saliba defending. Brilliant. I thought Arsenal were fantastic defensively. But the dependency on De Bruyne and Haaland now, like, should we shift more to a team model that's less so individualistic? More about Alvarez and your Bernardo Silvas and your workhorses. You're not getting your... Because Haaland goes from 10 out of 10 to 5 out of 10. 10 out of 10, 5 out of 10. And it's like, mate, I'd rather someone just be 7 out of 10 every game. Every game. James Milner. Do you know what I mean? Mr. 7 out of 10. James fucking Milner. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather that. You know what I mean? I'd rather the peaks and troughs. It doesn't suit Manchester City. The spikes and the dips in form does not suit Manchester City. But, like, your consistency, that's Pep Guardiola. Bernardo Silva is always like 7 out of 10, isn't he? Always. Something usually higher, to be honest. But, yeah, I thought he was fantastic today. But we need more of that. I think we could go back to more of a false nine. Alvarez, drop him a little bit, bring him into play a little bit more, still keep De Bruyne on the pitch. Maybe he can ghost in ahead of Alvarez, do something more in the goal department. Foden getting in behind Alvarez and, you know, pulling the defenders all over the pitch is something we can definitely do with Alvarez on the pitch. Whereas if you're two centre-backs and you know you see Erling Haaland on the team sheet, right, you know what your job is. You're going to be sit there, edge of the area, on the penalty spot, grab him, hold him, just be his shadow the whole game. And it's not an easy job for Haaland to shake off Gabriel and Saliba. He's got to bring more to the team, though, in that regard, Haaland. He's got to start dropping deeper and collecting the ball. But then it's like, well, that's not his game. Sometimes we need to be a little bit brutal. And Pep needs to... The problem with dropping Haaland, by the way, is you know what will happen. The headlines that will follow. Haaland's spat his dummy out. Pep's had enough of Haaland. Haaland to Madrid. Haaland to Barcelona. Whatever the fucking next transfer rumour is. If Haaland is dropped, we've got a media situation to handle. You know, it needs to be a case of how do you handle that? Because it will come with a negative connotation. You know, you drop Haaland, everyone's going to say it. Every single newspaper and article, every single publication in world football will say Haaland's on his way out of the club. Pep's had enough. The second he drops him, is he going to drop him? Because you talk about the business side of football. At that point, you start to get a little bit outside of football, don't you? We're not even talking about the game anymore. We're talking about the image. The market value of Haaland starts to go down when City hold their hands up and say, we're no longer interested in this player and we're putting him on the bench. His value goes down. How do you start commanding big fees for Erling Haaland if you plan on selling him, but you're telling everyone in the transfer market that you don't want him anymore because he's on the bench? It's a juggling act. It's not easy to handle, and people think about it so one-dimensionally, like, just drop him, get rid of him. There's so much more that comes with it outside of, because Haaland's not just a footballer, he's an icon, you know, he's a brand. You know, it's not as simple as just dropping Erling Haaland, you know, and there's Cheeky and Khaldoon will be thinking about these things. Pep's obviously football, but Cheeky and Khaldoon, and Ferran, they'll all be looking at it like, hang on, like, we've got to look after the player's image and the ka-ching, the dollar bill y'all side of things. Do you know what I mean? So it's not so easy to just get rid of Haaland. But I do feel like he needs a rest, which is why I chose the words Haaland needs a rest. I feel like that's the way it would be handled. If Pep was to drop him, that's what he would say. First time the microphone shoved under his nose, it will be, yeah, I felt like he needed a rest. He's been tried in a few areas. We're going to try resting him a little bit and give Alvarez a little bit of a run out, something. He's not done anything wrong, something along those lines. And he'll be back in the starting 11 before you know it. I feel like that. I feel like it's as simple as that. I don't think it needs to be, we don't need to make a mountain out of a molehill. Do you know what I mean? It's just what it is. It's like, he's not doing enough. 5 games without a goal. We need more. The Mad Hatter, Haaland needs a wake-up call. Yeah. I think that will do it. Dropping him. That's the wake-up call. I presume that's what you mean, mate. Because putting him on the bench, it's a position he's not very familiar with. You know, he's obviously not spent too much time on the bench lately, has he? If ever, in his career. He's barely been on the bench, has he? So it would be foreign territory for Erling Haaland. But I just, you know. Also cropping up there, fair play to Gvardiol. You ate your words. Well done, Gvardiol. I can't remember what your words were, mate, but I presume your words were Gvardiol shouldn't be playing left back. And in which case, I also ate my words because I said the same thing. I would rather have seen Nathan Ake playing left back, Gvardiol coming inside, and Ake looking after, what's his face? Saka. Looking after Saka. Because we've seen the one-on-one duel between Saka and Nathan Ake, no problem. No problem at all. But Gvardiol was fantastic. He was brilliant today. Graham, Haaland looks lazy. His hold-up play is poor. It was poor today. There was a couple of moments where he did the right thing. He laid it off all right. But I disagree with lazy. I feel like it's hard to look energetic in his role because he's got a strange role in this side. You know, it's interesting. But lots of people agreeing with the Mad Hatter there and my comments as well with regards to Gvardiol. Andy, Gvardiol was our best player. Yeah, Gvardiol played well, section 20. Devious, Haaland up front doesn't work anymore. We need something different. I mean, these games where he's not a flat track bully for me. I don't think Haaland is just a bully that, you know, the bottom half of the league teams, he just wipes the floor with them. I don't feel like that because he's scored goals against big teams. You know, he has. You know, he scored against Arsenal in the Etihad and at the Emirates last season. So I don't feel like we can be talking about Haaland as someone that's become a flat track bully. But I don't know. Who have we got next? Let's have a look at the fixtures just to remind myself of what's coming up. You know what? I'm like Pep now. I don't look that far ahead. He's coached me into looking one game at a time. He's always said that, one game at a time. I tend to not look at that far ahead now. I used to look at the fixtures all the time like, oh, we'll win that game, we'll lose that game, and we'll win that game. I used to do that all the time. Villa, fuck. It's not an easy game. It's not an easy game at all. John McGinn, though, suspended. That's huge. That is huge. Ollie Watkins got to look out for that. Then we've got Palace away. I'm more worried about that than Villa, actually, because I feel like Villa have not been as good as they were in the first half of the season. Good, but not as good. Crystal Palace away. Nobody goes to Palace and batters them. Nobody wins Palace comfortably. You know, we've never gone there and won 4-0, 3-0 or anything like that. It's always been like 1-0 or 2-1. Like really horrible close games. Then we've got Real Madrid. Small matter of Madrid. Then Luton at home. Should win that. Then Real Madrid, and then we're getting too far ahead to start to worry about. But is there any dodgers in there, really? Let's have a quick look, actually. Brighton away. That's a grim game. That depends on the Champions League draw as well. Forest away. Not easy. Spurs away. Yeah, the fixtures. The more you look at them, the less and less optimistic I feel. The more I look at it. Brighton, Forest and Spurs away. All three. Surely they're going to move all that around. 3 away games in a row. You can piss off with that. Fixture details to be confirmed with Spurs. But surely that's not going to be 3 away games in a row. That's not right. In a title race, 3 away games in a row. That's bollocks. Not good, really. But still, we can do it, Blues. Fucking hurt, man. I still sprained my finger like 3 weeks ago playing footy. Absolutely hurt. We effed it today, says Benny. Mate, I disagree. But I feel like it's a tough... It's an uphill task now. We've got an uphill task, but we still can do it, man. We can still do it, you know. There's no way all 3 teams are going to go undefeated now for the rest of the season. You just hope it's not us, the team that drops points. And, you know, law of averages. I mean, we're due a loss. What are we now? 23 games unbeaten? That's ridiculous. Sounds like so bad being a City fan right now. We're 23 games unbeaten. That's insane. You know, Arsenal, what they got? 9 games now unbeaten. They're going mental. With regards to that, as like what an achievement. 9 games unbeaten. We're 23 games unbeaten. That's a proper title run, you know. I don't feel like it's the end of the world for Manchester City right now, but I do agree that there is problems in this City side. It's not the same standards as last season. It's definitely in the hands of Liverpool right now, which goes without saying. Andy, have we improved as a team with Haaland? Please discuss. Well, last season, yeah. Definitely. We won the treble. This season, less so. Nitin, on the verge of finishing third and trophyless. We're also on the verge of winning another treble. Do you know what I mean? I know what you're saying, and still no accountability. I know your point. I understand your point. I'm not deluded. I'm certainly not deluded in blind faith in this Manchester City side. There is no blind faith from me. You know, for anyone who, glass half full section. Exactly right. Glass half full. It's definitely, there's a half glass there. You're absolutely right. That's exactly the right terminology. Glass half full. And I used to not be like that, mate. This City side have made me that the other way. I used to watch this side, and it was like, I used to go to games, and it was like, oh, mate, imagine if we won. Oh, imagine a goal. How good would that be if we scored? Oh, what a goal. That would be so good if we scored. Now it's like, must not lose. And I kind of miss the old Jeopardy a little bit. I do miss that way of thinking, of going to a football match, like thinking about it. But this City side, even in our successful periods, I've gone through a time as a City fan, even from the Aguero goal, the Yaya Toure in the FA Cup against Stoke, Gundogan's comeback, last season doing what we did, winning the treble, and the ability to defy odds. They've just made me a believer, you know. And while Pep Guardiola is at the helm of this football side, it's going to take a lot for me to not believe this side. But I'm telling you right now, if we go and lose our next game to Villa, you know, and they go and win their 2 games, I'll hold my hands up. We've lost the title. I feel like it's that close. We are that close to losing the title. We can't afford to be dropping any more points if they go and pick up points. It obviously depends if they go and win their games. But if we drop points, I will be on here and I'll say, the title's gone. You know, at that point, if the gap becomes any bigger than the 3 points that it is, and I'd have still said 4 points is doable, but very, very difficult. Very difficult. But if we were to go any more than 4 points behind with 8 games to go, it becomes really difficult. And not just because it's like, oh, wow, it's only 4 points, Johnny. Like, anything could happen. Yeah, we've done it before. We did it against United, but we were chasing one side. We're now looking at Arsenal and Liverpool to drop points. The likeliness of them both doing it is incredibly slim, and also factoring in the likeliness of how good they've been. You know, they don't show any signs of weakness or dropping points themselves. They are going toe-to-toe with the standards that we set. We set these standards, and they're meeting them. And fair play to Liverpool and Arsenal. They're doing the job, you know, but there's a long way to go. There is a long way to go. A couple of chats before I shoot off. Benny, we have always scored goals, but ladies and gents, at least we are not getting relegated. There you go, mate. There you go, Benny. That's it, mate. There's been worse times as a City fan. City going down with $1 billion in the bank. Yeah, mate, nothing wrong with what we're doing. And Manchester City could still come strong this season. And there's a trophy happening this season. I know what Neaton said, very much worst case scenarios. Hang on a minute, Nitten up there, I can see, mate. These paid content creators. Paid? Well, are we paid, are we? Content creators will never call a spade a spade. Who brought Kovacic and Nunes to replace Gundo? Cut the crap and speak truth. I'd like to be paid more than I am being paid, to be honest. First point. So there's a spade for you. Second spade is Manchester City can still win all 3 trophies. Is that not a spade? There's a spade for you. What else did you say? Who brought Kovacic? Cheeky Bergenstein. And who brought Nunes? Cheeky Bergenstein. The same guy who bought Erling Haaland. That guy. The same guy who signed Julian Alvarez. That guy. You know, that guy. You know, Kovacic, you played really well today, by the way. You know, Nunes got a long way to go. You know, there is no delusion here, mate. There's no delusion. There is, like Section 20 said, there's glass half full mentality. You know, there is not an inability to call a spade a spade. I'm well aware of what is happening at this football club, you know, but the facts are we're the one of two sides that can still win a treble. That's it. I don't see how that needs to be doom and gloom, and, you know, me being paid has got anything to do with it, first of all. You know, the fact that, do I need to have a certain opinion because I'm on YouTube attempting, I stress the word attempting, to make money, you know? Don't overestimate what YouTubers make. Do you know what I mean? We're not all fucking Mark Goldbridge here, mate. Do you know what I mean? We're not fucking rolling in it, you know, and we're all entitled to our opinions, whether we're paid or not, just as much as you are. But the facts are, Manchester City can still win a treble. We still win a treble, mate. You know, it doesn't need to be doom and gloom. It doesn't. We can still do it. I'm telling you right now, we're not going to. We're not going to win a treble. If that's what you're after, if you want me to make a statement that's so forthright, we're not going to win the treble. My bet would be the Champions League and the FA Cup. That's my bet. That's why if I had to put money on it, you know, with all that money that I'm paid off YouTube, I'd put it on the Champions League and FA Cup. That's what I'd bet. I don't think we're going to win the Premier League. I still fully believe we can. And there's no reason to not believe that, because we're 3 points behind Liverpool with 8 games to go. Like, how ridiculous do you need to be to think that 3 points is done? How is 3 points done? Makes no mistake to me. It makes no sense to me, sorry. Anyway, on that note, cheers, Knitting. You've made me go and feel a bit doom and gloom myself. Cheers for pissing on my bonfire, mate. Appreciate that. I'm going to end the stream on that wonderful note and go and stuff my face with some chocolate eggs. Hope everyone enjoyed their Easter. The game was boring, I'll give you that. Really boring game, not ideal, but like I said, stress it again, we're still here, Blues, we can still do this. And thanks all for sticking around for the... I've waffled a fair bit. And just saw Aaron there as well. Knitting, I'm not a mod, but if you don't like, you know where the red cross is on the internet browser. That's a very good point, Aaron. Aaron Borson, by the way. Big up to Aaron Borson. That's Stefan Borson's brother in the chat there. Everybody, thank you very much, Aaron, for introducing me to your wonderfully knowledgeable brother. And you seem pretty knowledgeable yourself, seeing as you know where the red cross is. It seems like more than some people do in the chat. Appreciate that, mate. Nice one. Top man. Blues! Come on. Ross. That fiver, mate, is going to go a long bloody way. Thank you. We love Jonny. Cheers, Ross. Oh, appreciate that, mate. Nice one, Russ. Top man. Russ, you're an absolute legend. You hooked us up with, hooked up other people. I think Devious. Who else? Sleepy Sun. Did someone else get it? I can't remember who else got it. I can't remember. But you hooked 5 memberships up in the chat, mate. And Russ, by the way, he doesn't just do it on here. He goes... I happened to be watching City Extra the other day on the Haaland's injured video they did, I think it was. I caught like 2 minutes of it just to see what the actual update was. And I was like, what are they saying? Because I was out at the time. Went on, zoomed in, and I saw the live chat. Russ Davis pops up, gifting like 20 memberships with a multiple... That guy's supporting City content creators like no one I've seen, to be honest, mate. Russ, you're an absolute legend, mate. Not just because you've sent me a super chat and you've hooked up people, but the fact that you're going around supporting other City content creators as well. What a top man you are. Thank you very much for that support and for supporting the rest of the City content creators as well. Really, really good of you. Blues, drop a like on the stream. Hit that subscribe button if you are new. It really does help. We're going to do something this season. There's still plenty of success available to us. We're going to do something this season. I'm not sure what, but we're going to do something. Yeah, like I said, hit the like button and the subscribe button if you're new, and take care and enjoy your Easter as well. Have a good one, Blues. See you later.